movement, Say Her Name, raises awareness about the killings of unarmed black women at the hands of police. But it's not just black women being killed. Joining us is the executive producer of the Say Their Name series, Chris Colbert. Thank you for joining us this morning, Chris.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Now, can you tell our audience how the Say Their Name series came about and who was the first person you recognized?
Yes, the Say Their Name series came about. We actually began working on this project back in 2018 and then actually released it here in 2020. But it was all of us seeing these constant names again and again, these hashtags, these, different kind of media reports going on around Say Their Name and these individuals. And we just felt like, people weren't really talking about who they were as individuals. We were just talking about them as statistics. And so we wanted to make sure that we brought families on to talk directly to individuals, to our audience, about who these individuals were and what their battle for justice has been since then. So the first story we touched on was that of Artie Elliott III, who was killed back in 1993 in District Heights, Maryland. And it's just a heinous situation where his hands were handcuffed behind his back. He had a lap seatbelt on, and he was put in the front seat of a police cruiser, where police then opened up fire on him, hitting him multiple times at point blank range, claiming that he pointed a gun at them while his hands were cuffed behind his back. So it's situations like that that show why this kind of series is important.
And can you talk about, it sounds like this series is also therapeutic for the families.
Oh, absolutely. Well, let me first say it's therapeutic, but it also is them reopening old wounds. So as much as it's therapy in terms of them talking about their loved one and talking about their journey for justice, they are opening these wounds for us. So we do need to be very humble with these families in terms of what they're sharing with us. But it is therapeutic in the sense that they're getting their story out in a sense of, not being filtered through the lens of different media outlets who may have agendas. And so, this is an opportunity for them to express what's really going on, but also for them to connect with other families, share resources, and we just hope to be a platform to help them do so.
Now, you mentioned one of the names of the gentleman who was killed in '93. Can you tell us some other names of people that we may not have heard of, unfortunately?
Oh, absolutely. One of them is that of Kaldrick Donald. He's out of Gretna, Florida, a small town just outside of Tallahassee. As many of these situations happen, he was experiencing a mental health situation. He was having a manic episode from his severe anxiety. And many times the family would call the police or call social services to come and get him aid and help him take his medication. But in this case, the officer came and not only didn't de-escalate the situation, they escalated it to a point that they chased him into the home, into the bathroom, where they ended up killing him. And now that family literally still lives in the same home and has to see that same bathroom where their loved one was killed. But then you also have people like Robbie Tolan, who actually is still alive to tell his story, but he was shot in Houston, Texas. And in his situation, he was just driving home, parked in his own driveway, and then police stopped him for suspicion of stealing his own car. And that then led to him being shot in front of his mother, his father, his cousin, all around what was actually an officer inputting the wrong license plate into the system. But within 30 seconds of showing up, they then shot and harmed Robbie Tolan, who had a professional baseball career that was ended because of that.
And Bobby Tolan, was there any justice in that case?
So the officer was never fired. They actually were promoted. And that happens in many of these cases. These officers go on to, get a promotion, or at least there's no kind of restitution. The family did fight all the way to the Supreme Court, where they did get a victory, but there still was no justice in terms of the officer being held accountable.
And Chris, how do you find your names? Do the family members reach out to you? How do you find them?
It's a combination. When we first started our series, and I apologize for the siren in the background here in New York City, but when we first started our series, I actually have a connection with Benjamin Crump. He and I worked together back during the Trayvon Martin and George Zimmerman situation. And so he helped connect us with some of our initial families. And then beyond that, it literally was just us doing Google searches, and, much to probably our own detriment when it comes to mental health, we were, just watching video after video, reading story after story to understand what's been going on. And that's how we then just started reaching out to lawyers who connected us with families. And now at this point, families are reaching out directly to us because of the work that we've done, some of these connections that we've made. And now we've actually taken this battle to the new social media platform called Clubhouse, where we're now hosting weekly conversations all around ending police violence and bringing these families on to talk directly to individuals. And I saw that you just touched on what's happening out there in LA with the LASD. And we actually just had someone on yesterday, the family of Anthony Vargas, talking about how their loved one was actually killed by police in what may have been a police gang initiation.
Police gang initiation. Can you explain that to us? What does that mean?
Sure. There's many gangs that I'm now learning about, especially in the California, Los Angeles, Southern California area, but it may be prevalent across the country. The one that we were talking about last night in particular was that of the Bandidos. It is a gang that has initiations that are based around falsifying information or killing individuals. And the people in the community know about this gang, and they know that they have to be very careful. We're talking about police
officers, Chris?
Correct. Police gangs that are using initiations through this misinformation and through intimidation and actual assaults on individuals in the community.
Wow. It sounds like we need to bring you back to talk more about that.
Well, and like I said, we're still learning, so we would love to come back and talk more about that. But that's what our series, Say Their Name, the podcast series, but also what we're now doing on Clubhouse is allowing us to do. We wouldn't know about these stories if we didn't have these families to talk to and talk directly to us about what's happening to them and what's happening in their communities.
Chris, my last question for you, because we have to wrap, so we have about 30 seconds. How many families have you highlighted since 2018?
We've highlighted only 7 because we go very much in depth in our podcast series, but Clubhouse is allowing us to literally do one every single week. So, we're going to be highlighting, 50 plus families a year. So, please get in contact with us. Follow us at DCP Official for more information. Got it.
And shout out how people can listen to this series as well.
Yes, Say Their Name. It's a podcast series, no S on that. Say Their Name. You can find it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, Pandora, any place that you get podcasts. And it's a free series. Please check it out. And then we also have donations that you can do for the families and for the greater community at large.
All right, perfect. That siren we heard earlier in the background was perfect to ring the alarm. Thank you, Chris. It was a pleasure having you on the show this morning. Have a good day, sir.
Thank you.